it's been a minute since we talked Flyers hockey, but there has been a lot that's been going on with this team. They just got done beating the Anaheim Ducks on Tuesday night. And today here, guys, we're going to discuss the game against the Anaheim Ducks, especially, as well as just catching up with everything Philadelphia Flyers. But guys, my name is Parceo Philly, uniting all through sports and culture here in the beautiful city of Philadelphia. And today, guys, we're going to talk Philadelphia Flyers and Anaheim Ducks. It's all going anywhere because that's all coming up next. Let's get this, guys. Yeah! Alright guys, before we start things off, if this is the first time you're tuning into my channel, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. But guys, we are trying to grow Parceo Philly here in the Philadelphia landscape, and I could use your guys' help to grow. Help me out by liking this video, subscribing to this channel, hitting the bell button for notifications, as well as sharing this video and this channel to help me grow in the beautiful city of Philadelphia. But guys, let's get right into this here. And for the Philadelphia Flyers, before we dive into this game against the Anaheim Ducks, it's been a long, wild weekend for the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, if you guys don't know, I was down in Washington, D.C., handling some business with the Philadelphia Eagles, traveling with the fans and the team for their game on Sunday against the Redskins. So I didn't have time to, sit down and make a video for the Flyers here, as well as, really watch both the games this past weekend. So I really didn't get to catch up with you guys. I did, however, see the highlights for both of those games. And, honestly, I'm kind of glad I missed them because they were games to forget, guys. I know, the Saturday 4-1 loss to the Minnesota Wild, the game that, the Chuck Fletcher game, we were facing off against, Chuck Fletcher's former team in the Minnesota Wild. And, you guys know, when it comes to all these Philly sports, I look at it as one. And, the city of Philadelphia kind of owned the state of Minnesota, quite frankly. We all know the back and forth between the Eagles and the Vikings, the Timberwolves, trading Jimmy Butler to Philadelphia. That started a little trigger with the Minnesota Timberwolves fans. And then, this past year, the Timberwolves coming up to Philly, running up our rocky steps, and then Cat and JoJo going at it, and Ben Simmons keeping Cat in a chokehold. But I keep this Chuck Fletcher thing close to me with the Minnesota Wild. But unfortunately, the Flyers did not back up my trash talk, as we would lose badly to the Minnesota Wild 4-1. In that game, we would see Carter Hart get the start for the Philadelphia Flyers. And unfortunately, he didn't get much help in that game, as he allowed 27 shots to get by him. He would see 27 shots, and he would only save 24 of those shots. So it wasn't really a good game for our goalie Carter Hart there. And then the Flyers had the back-to-back and would have to travel up to Winnipeg to face off against the Jets. And of course, this was a return game for Kevin Hayes to go back to Winnipeg, and it was even worse. The Flyers would lose 7-3 in that game, and Ryan Elliott would get the start there and would actually get, after allowing 6 goals, Carter Hart would come into the game, and it was just an ugly game. Both games were ugly, quite frankly, and it's kind of why I really don't want to talk about them. But now, when you look at the last 5 games, the Flyers have lost 4 of the last 5 up to this point, especially going over the West Coast, losing those 3 games. Now, I've talked about this before, especially for the Avalanche game here for the Flyers. Traveling in America is not easy, especially in hockey here. It's a physical sport, and making a West Coast trip is not easy. And, it definitely tests you. Unfortunately, we did not, meet the test here. We did not pass this test, but this is definitely a learning situation here for the Philadelphia Flyers. And of course, there was the other set of news that kind of, related to the Flyers' 3-game losing streak here on the West Coast. And that was the announcement of Oskar Lindblom. It was diagnosed with a form of cancer. He was diagnosed with Ewing's sarcoma. It is a type of cancer that is found within the bone or outside the bone within the soft tissue. Now, this came out of nowhere. I guess Oskar found out about this cancer shortly after the Arizona Coyotes game on December the 5th, because we haven't seen him back in the lineup since that Coyotes game. So this is really unfortunate, and it was really sad, but it was really beautiful to see not only the Flyers rallying around Oskar, but the city of Philadelphia. I saw the Sixers show some love to Oskar. I saw the Philadelphia Union show some love to Oskar. And seeing a bunch of Philly sports fans showing support for Oskar too is so beautiful to see. Oskar, from what I hear, is one of those, down-to-earth guys who's so positive and loves life. And, I always say this, that, God likes, not to get religious again, but I always say that God likes to challenge his toughest soldiers, right? And this is a challenge here for him. He's going to get through this. He's going to, he's going to get over the cancer, and he's going to fight back onto the ice. But, for right now, keep Oskar Lindblom in your prayers. Going through the losing streak that the Flyers have gone through, going through some of the injuries the Flyers have gone through, and then getting this terrible news that Oskar Lindblom got cancer. Like, that is so, those are some things that would crush teams. But it seems like on Tuesday night, the Flyers were going to use all that bad stuff that was happening and put that energy out on the ice, because they came to play against some Anaheim Ducks. Now, these days, the Anaheim Ducks aren't the Anaheim Ducks that we remember a couple years ago. A lot of those players from those runs are gone. What's left really is Ryan Getzlaf. And, they still have Cam Fowler and Adam, and they also have Adam Henrique. And then goal they have Ryan Gibson, which is he's pretty solid, but they're going through what they're calling a retool. So it's definitely not a strong Anaheim Ducks team that we were accustomed to a couple years ago. But still, you can't take any team lightly, especially the Western Conference teams. And going into this game, the Flyers took care of business. And really, when it comes to this game here, the first thing you have to talk about is Carter Hart. My man stood tall, and he delivered for the Philadelphia Flyers. We're talking about 41 shots with 40 saves. My man took 40 shots and only allowed one to go by. That is incredible, guys. I continuously am getting amazed by the stuff that Carter Hart is putting out night to night. This is a 21-year-old goalkeeper, and he's giving you 40 saves against the Anaheim Ducks. They're not that good of a team, but this isn't also the worst team in the NHL. And he gave you 40 saves. I can't wait to see what else Carter Hart has in store. And I really can't wait to see him in the playoffs. Regardless of what happens in the playoffs, if the Flyers make it, that is so valuable for him to just be in the playoffs and gain that experience. That is the reason why I really want the Eagles to make the playoffs this year, despite not being as strong as years past, because that experience is going to be so valuable for Carson Wentz. And for Carter Hart, I want the same thing for him. So continue this, Carter Hart, because you are really, really, really helping bring the relevance to the Philadelphia Flyers. We will talk more about relevance and the Flyers more in a couple of seconds. The best overall game had to be Sean Couturier in this game here. He would get 2 points here, a goal and assist. And between him and Claude Giroux, I can't tell who was the better player, but I think I have to give that to Sean Couturier. But both those veteran players had great games, and that is as expected. How about David Kasse, the young winger who got called up, and in this game, he would go up against his brother who plays for the Anaheim Ducks, Andres Kasse. And we would have a sibling battle on the ice in Philadelphia for both the Flyers and the Ducks. But David Kasse would get a goal in this game, his first ever goal in the NHL, and it was a perfect timing with his parents in town and his brother in town as well. He got a nice first goal for the Philadelphia Flyers and contributed in this win here as well. Travis Konecny would return back to the ice after missing the last couple games, and he would link back up with Claude Giroux, and they would gain their chemistry back. And both those two had a nice play together to get a goal for the Flyers, and it was a nice assist from Travis Konecny for Claude Giroux to just tap it in. So I want to continue seeing their chemistry continue to grow as he returns back to the ice here. Of course, in this game, we would have no Joel Farabee, which I wanted to discuss real briefly because I feel like this topic has been beaten to death. Like, let's get something straight here. Joel Farabee's decision on that play to deliver that hit was dumb, and it happens for these young guys. Okay. He's going to learn from it, and he's going to be better. He's a fiery, feisty type of player, and that's why we love Joel Farabee, because he does everything, and he fights hard on the ice. But did he deserve 3 games? In my opinion, no. We've seen some worse stuff in the NHL this season. For Joel to get 3 games was a little bit much. So, he definitely needs to do better for his team next time. But the NHL, really 3 games? Come on. Now, to end things off with this game, this is really a good game and a much-needed game that the Flyers needed on that night. Like I said, they lost 4 of the last 5. You got the win here. Now let's get back to a winning streak. Let's get back to that form, and we're going to get healthy yet again as well. And JVR looks a little bit better as well. I've seen him get a lot of criticism over the last week. He hasn't been performing up to par what we expect from JVR, but he's going to figure it out. It's a long season, guys. Not everyone's going to be firing it away throughout the season. I think he's finding his stride yet again, and he's going to be okay as well. But this was overall a great win, especially on a special night, honoring Oskar Lindblom. But the next topic I wanted to get to, as far as the Flyers, was the attendance in the game against the Ducks there. Now, from what I'm hearing is that it wasn't as bad as it seems for those who were actually at the game, but it looked pretty empty. Now, maybe it filled out throughout the game. I know people like to show up late. Wasn't the night to show up late, to be quite honest with you. But regardless of the attendance, the Flyers, when you look at the Philadelphia sports landscape here, obviously we know when it comes to attendance. Now, I threw this out there on Twitter, and I got some interesting responses on Twitter. But when it comes to Philadelphia and when it comes to live sporting for Philadelphia sports, okay, obviously the Eagles and Sixers dominate those things. Eagles will always dominate in Philly sports. They will always sell out the Lincoln Financial Field. And right now the Sixers are the hot ticket, so everyone's going to show up. But with the Philadelphia Flyers, you have a good team this year, and it's a fun team to watch. You have a good young goalie in net. You have some young talent with Travis Konechny, Morgan Frost, Ivan Provorov, Shane Gostisbehere, Joel Farabee. And you still got Claude Giroux, Jakub Voracek, JVR, Kevin Hayes. So this is still a pretty fun team to watch. Yet they still don't pull nearly what the Sixers are pulling or what the Eagles are doing. Now, what I put on Twitter was, in my opinion, the Flyers and the Union are the best ticket in town. The Flyers may be a little pricey. Relatively right now with the way the Sixers are playing, they're pretty close in price. Obviously some nights they're not going to sell out, and you might get lucky you find a cheap ticket. And I guarantee you, if you get lucky, you'll find a cheap ticket with the Flyers, guys. I don't agree with the Flyers raising prices. You haven't won anything in 50 years. You've been irrelevant for essentially the last decade. For you to raise prices, which was a little ridiculous, especially when the Eagles raised the prices a couple years ago, you can understand because the NFL in general was something that was gaining value, and the Eagles had to raise prices to keep up. But the NHL in general is declining, and you're going to ask your consumer to spend extra money on a declining product? It's not good business. But besides the point, NHL is the best product to watch live. Hands down. Okay? To me, hockey is the best sport to watch live. So to me, the Flyers, despite their price, which is still, in some cases, is not as expensive as the Sixers, and definitely not as expensive as the Eagles, you are getting a better bang for your buck with the Flyers. With the Union, you're getting an even better deal because it's even cheaper. You might have to travel a little farther out to Chester to get to these games, but when you're there, there's nothing that's really going to break your bank. All right, and it's still a fun experience going down there to Chester. You have the beautiful view of the river, of the bridge. It's such a fun crowd. You want to get rowdy, come to Sons of Ben. Like people, I know some people are turned off by soccer in the city, and I get that, but give it a chance. And I know the history that the Union had in the last 10 years, but it's still a fun event. Now, I don't want to talk too much about the Union because this is a Flyers episode here, but to see the Flyers that empty, it was really sad to see. Now, I wish I could get to the Flyers games, but I'm waiting for the New Year's, quite honestly, to start hitting to some Flyers games. But if I have the chance, I would pick the Flyers over the Sixers. To go to the game, I would pick the Flyers to go over the Sixers and Eagles. To me, the NFL is something, I love watching the Eagles. Don't get me wrong, I love my Birds, but I would rather watch it in my place here with my couch. Get my own beer or wine, whatever I'm feeling that day. And I'll put the game on, cook some food or order some food, and I will enjoy that better on my couch and spend nearly nothing close to what I would spend down at the Lincoln Financial Field. And the Sixers, yeah, basketball is fun to watch in person, but it's not what hockey is. I'm sorry, it's not what hockey is. Hockey is so much better to watch in person. The hits, the speed of the game, the goals. I just love it. I truly do love it. All right, next up for the Flyers, they're back at it tomorrow night. It's a 7 o'clock puck drop against the Buffalo Sabres. So it'll be the first time we face off against Buffalo. And this is a much different Buffalo Sabres team. They are much better. Jack Eichel has really developed into a pretty solid player. So we will get to see the Sabres firsthand tomorrow night down at the center. It's going to be a good test here for the Flyers. Like I said, It's time to get a winning streak here going. Let's get this going here, boys. But guys, that's all I got for you with the Flyers. Real quick, brief episode. We're going to get kicked back into gear after tomorrow's night. It's back to consistent Flyers coverage here from me at least. The DC trip, was definitely much needed, but it's time to get back into gear. But guys, I want to hear from you. With the Flyers, let's talk about it. How are you feeling, guys? Especially over the last weekend was a tough losing streak, losing all 3 games on the road. But then we bounced back. So what are your thoughts here with the Flyers? Also, too, what are your thoughts with the whole attendance issue with the Flyers and, quite frankly, with the NHL in general? What do you think? What's wrong with the NHL? Why is this product not selling in America? As I think, quite frankly, it should. It's a great product there. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate if this is the first time you're tuning in or if you're turning back. I just want to make a difference here in the Philadelphia sports landscape and offer a little bit something different. But we are trying to grow this here, and I could really honestly use your guys' help. Help me out by liking this video, subscribing to this channel, hitting the bell button for his notifications, as well as sharing this video and this channel to help me grow in the Philly sports market. Guys, if you also want to follow me on other platforms of social media, definitely do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Parceo Philly, and you can also find me on Instagram at @L_Parceo_Philly. But until next time, guys, I'm Parceo Philly, and I will catch you guys later.